Get ready for health. Welcome to Fresh Start. Are you ready for health? If you're finding us on YouTube, we encourage you to go to our website, freshstart.mhsystem.org, to see all of our modules. We call this module Be Better Than Normal. That begs the question, what is normal other than a 6-letter word? If you look normal up in the dictionary, it will say conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected, or the usual, average, or typical state or condition, or it might give a mathematical definition, a normal distribution, a probability that is symmetrical about the mean. That gives us this bell curve that we're familiar with. On the bell curve, we consider, quote, normal, unquote, as anything that's within 2 standard deviations of the mean, which usually includes about 95% of the population. So, are you normal? What if normal is not optimal? What if the majority is sick? For example, let's look at total cholesterol. In the United States, normal is under 200. However, half the people that have heart attacks have a, quote, normal cholesterol. Children with atherosclerosis is normal in the United States. However, in China, before the Western diet, the average cholesterol was 127, and there was minimal coronary artery disease. So in our country, where normal is sick, we want to shift that range down and find out what is the ideal, what is the optimal. So we want to optimize our blood pressure and our cholesterol, not just normalize them. That leads then to other questions. Is your result really your result? All of our tests have something called a confidence level. Generally, that confidence level is about 95%. That means 1 out of 20 of your results might be incorrect. All of our tests also have a level of precision. That means they might or might not be precise. So for example, a test for cholesterol that has a precision of plus or minus 5% would mean that really a result of 200 might be 190, or it might be 210, or something in between. And a drop in your cholesterol from 200 to 190 may not be a drop at all. With all of these in mind, then let me ask, do you know your 4 for more? If you don't know what that is, then we encourage you to go to our first module and find out more about it. But just a quick review, the EPIC study demonstrated that the practice of 4 lifestyle factors resulted in 93% less diabetes, 81% less heart attack, 50% less stroke, 36% less cancer, 80% less risk of major chronic disease, and an increased life expectancy of 14 years. What are those healthy lifestyle factors? Never smoking, a BMI, body mass index, less than 30, 3.5 hours a week of physical activity, and a healthy diet that was high in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and low in meat. So we encourage you to practice your 4 for more healthy lifestyle factors. How do you measure the results of those lifestyle factors? How do you know you're doing enough? That's when you can look at your 4 for more biometric numbers. We'd like you to work toward getting your BMI less than 30, less than 25 is even better, your blood pressure less than 120 over 80, better yet, less than 110 over 70 without medication, the hemoglobin A1C less than 5.7, and that total cholesterol at least less than 200, if not less than 180, and that LDL cholesterol less than 100, less than 70 is the best. Let me explain these numbers to you in a little bit more detail. So body mass index is actually your weight adjusted for height. The taller you are, the more weight you can carry and be in a normal or ideal range. The body mass index doesn't apply well to people who have high muscle masses. Those are the extreme athletes. Frequently, people like to claim that they have more muscle mass than they do. Unless you're really an extreme athlete, the BMI really is a pretty good indicator for you. There's the formula if you want to calculate it on your own. There are calculators online and in apps that you can use. The normal range is 18.5 to 25. Overweight is defined as a BMI of 26 to 30, and if your BMI is over 30, it's considered an obese range. The BMI is really helpful as an indicator of other chronic diseases. If you have a high BMI, you have an increased risk of diabetes, your healthcare costs will be higher, you have a higher rate of disability, and you have a higher risk of death from all causes. When the Adventist Health Study looked at BMI in people who were 65 or older, they found that those in that normal range of BMI, here in the green, had a lower risk of death than those in that overweight range. And as that moved up into the obese range off their chart, the risk of death continued to rise significantly. So we want to get your BMI at least into the yellow zone, if not into that green zone, which is more ideal. Blood pressure is another number that we measure. It's measured in millimeters of mercury. It should be taken in a relaxed state and position, like lying down or sitting, after resting for at least 5 minutes. One elevated reading doesn't make a diagnosis of high blood pressure. That top number is called the systolic blood pressure, the pressure that's exerted when your heart is pumping. That bottom number is called diastolic, which is when your heart is at rest. We stratify the blood pressure numbers, calling it normal if it's under 120/80. And then as it goes up, we have different classifications for elevated, stage 1 or stage 2 hypertension. The ideal blood pressure is less than 110/70 without medication. Fasting blood sugar, that blood sugar we take first thing in the morning before eating, is an indicator of the presence of diabetes. That normal range is less than 99, and some people are saying should be less than 95. Pre-diabetes is 100 to 125. Now remember, pre-diabetes is not pre-disease. If you have pre-diabetes, you probably have heart disease and kidney disease and eye disease and nerve disease already happening. If your fasting blood sugar is over 125, that may indicate diabetes. If your blood sugar is taken in a non-fasting state, it should be less than 140. A better test is called the hemoglobin A1C. This is like taking an average of your blood sugar over about 3 months. Less than 5.7 is considered normal. 5.7 to 6.4 is pre-diabetes, again, not pre-disease. 6.5 or more is diabetes, and 7 plus greatly increases your risk of complications from diabetes. Triglycerides are one of the fats in the blood that we measure with a lipid panel. Ideally, we'd like to see that at 150 or less. If it's taken in a non-fasting state, it can be as high as 175 and still be considered normal. This changes quickly. It increases with the consumption of sugar or alcohol. It may climb a bit initially during a weight loss program, but will come down later, and during the weight loss program, it should stay somewhere below 180. At total cholesterol, we already talked about. Just to point out that a normal cholesterol in the United States is 180 to 200. If you have a cardiac cath and your cardiologist says it's okay, he doesn't mean that there's no disease. He means that it's less than 70% clogged. The ideal cholesterol, where any blockage in the arteries will actually start to reverse, is somewhere less than 150 to 160 without taking medications. When you look at the cholesterol numbers, the most important cholesterol is the LDL cholesterol, the low density lipoprotein. Some people call this the bad or the little devils. In the US, again, like total cholesterol, less than 100 is normal, but not ideal. Almost 50% of people that are in the hospital with a heart attack have a normal LDL, and a good number of those are taking statins, which lowers the LDL but doesn't reverse the heart disease. The ideal LDL is 70 or less without medication. The LDL on a lipid panel is usually calculated. It can be measured directly, but if it's calculated, the result is not valid if the triglycerides are over 400. Then there's the HDL cholesterol, or the good cholesterol. This tends to increase with exercise. Generally, higher than 60 is desired. However, a high level of HDL is not necessary if your LDL is low. Your HDL helps counteract that LDL. Treatments focused on raising HDL alone have not been shown to be really beneficial. There is a ratio we look at as well, the total cholesterol divided by the HDL. This helps indicate a risk for cardiovascular disease. Optimal is less than 4. We don't place as much importance in this. Just a word about medications for cholesterol. Medications can decrease the cholesterol numbers, but they really only benefit about 4% of the people who take them. 1 in 5 people who take a statin medication have significant side effects, and statins do not reverse disease. Only a plant-based whole food diet will. Turmeric may be a good alternative to a statin, who people need to or want to avoid the side effects. So in summary, we want you to know your 4 for more goal biometric numbers. Get that BMI down less than 30, less than 25 is even better. That blood pressure less than 120 over 80, less than 110 over 70 without medication is ideal. Hemoglobin A1C less than 5.7. That total cholesterol less than 200, less than 180, and even better yet, down into that 150 to 160 range without medication. And that LDL cholesterol less than 70 is ideal. To get there, you want to practice your 4 for more healthy habits. 0, less than 30, 30 by 5 or 10,000, 5 to 1, and almost none. That's no tobacco, get that BMI below 30, be physically active 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, or 10,000 steps a day, and eat 5 to 1 and almost none. That's 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, 2 servings of whole grains, 1 cup of legumes, low intake of salt, sugar, and fats and oils, and minimize those processed foods, meat, and high-fat dairy. If you have any questions, feel free to email us, livememorialwell@mhsystem.org. Are you ready for health?